Marcus Hayes stood outside room 314 at 10:45 on a Thursday night, his work boots leaving faint prints on the polished hospital floor. 8 hours of crawling through ceiling panels on the fourth floor
they're beautiful.
had left his uniform
To brighten your
stiff with
day.
dust
Thank
and
you.
his shoulders aching. The bouquet of sunflowers felt absurd in his calloused hands, grocery store flowers wrapped in cellophane bought on impulse from the gift shop downstairs. He pulled out his phone and read Jake's text again. "Room 314, bro. Thanks for coming." The door swung open under his palm, heavier than expected. The woman on the bed wasn't Jake Morrison. Her head was completely bald, skin translucent against white sheets, eyes closed. The room stretched out around her like an accusation. No flowers on the nightstand, no get-well cards propped against the water pitcher, no jacket draped over the visitor's chair, just the rhythmic beep of monitors and the hum of fluorescent lights. Marcus's breath caught somewhere between his lungs and throat. 3 years dissolved in an instant. Same hospital, different floor. Sarah lying in 402 with that same terrible stillness, tubes snaking from her arms, the cancer eating through her faster than any of the doctors had predicted. He'd promised to stay, promised never to leave her side. Then Emma's school called, playground accident, possible concussion, and he'd made the choice every parent would make. 45 minutes. That's all he'd been gone. When he returned, Sarah's hand was already cold. The sunflowers trembled in his grip. He set them on the table beside the sleeping woman, moving with the careful silence he'd learned working night shifts, and left before his legs could decide to collapse. Jake was 2 doors down in 316, propped up on pillows and grinning despite the IV pole beside his bed. They talked about the Blazers' losing streak and Jake's ex-wife's latest attempt to renegotiate alimony. 20 minutes of comfortable nothing. Marcus drove home afterward, Emma asleep at Mrs. Rodriguez's place next door, and sat in his truck in the driveway until his hands stopped shaking. The empty room kept replaying. No one should die that alone. No one. 4 days passed. Marcus told himself to forget it, focus on Emma's upcoming science fair project, fix the leaking shower head, prep for Frank Rodriguez's safety inspection next week. But Tuesday afternoon found him back at St. Catherine, walking past room 314 like his route to the break room had suddenly shifted 3 hallways over. He stopped outside the door and looked through the small window. The sunflowers were still there, drooping now, petals curling brown at the edges. The woman was awake this time, staring at the ceiling with an expression Marcus recognized from his own bathroom mirror in the months after Sarah died. Not quite alive, just breathing. His feet carried him to the nurse's station before his brain caught up. Dorothy Chen glanced up from her computer, and her face shifted through surprise into something softer, more careful. She'd been Sarah's primary nurse 3 years ago, had held Marcus's hand when the doctor explained there was nothing more they could do. "Dorothy, you back to see someone?" Marcus rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly aware of how his question would sound. "Room 314. The woman in there. What's her name?" Dorothy's fingers paused over her keyboard. "Lily Anderson, stage 3 lymphoma. Been here almost 4 weeks now. Anyone coming to visit her?" The older woman's expression answered before her words did. "Not a soul. No family listed in her file. We tried calling the emergency contact, her attorney, but he said Ms. Anderson specifically requested no visitors be notified of her hospitalization." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. "What's her prognosis?" "Responding to treatment, but it's aggressive chemotherapy. She's got at least 8 more weeks ahead of her, maybe longer depending on how her body handles it." He nodded, thanked Dorothy, and walked away. but in the staff locker room, changing out of his work clothes, the name kept circling. Lily Anderson. Something familiar in it, like a song he'd heard once and couldn't quite place. His phone buzzed, Emma asking if they could have pizza for dinner. He typed back a yes and grabbed his jacket. The parking lot was half empty, evening shift just starting, when the connection finally clicked. He'd seen that name on the plaques downstairs. Anderson Medical Solutions, one of the major donors to the hospital's new oncology wing. The dedication ceremony had been 2 years ago, right after they'd finished the expansion. He remembered because Frank had made the whole maintenance crew wear clean uniforms and stand in the background while some executive in a designer suit cut the ribbon. Marcus sat in his truck with the key in the ignition, not turning it. A woman wealthy enough to have buildings named after her company, lying alone in a hospital room with wilted grocery store flowers. The math didn't add up. Unless being rich just meant you had more to lose when everyone disappeared. That night, after Emma finished her homework and went to bed, Marcus pulled out his laptop. A quick search brought up pages of results. Victoria Lily Anderson, 34, VP of Marketing at Anderson Medical Solutions, a company her parents had built from nothing into a $200 million medical device manufacturer. MBA from Wharton, Forbes 30 under 40, 2 years running. Her parents had died in a private plane crash 5 years ago. He found the obituary, their faces smiling from some charity gala, the article mentioning their only daughter would be taking over leadership of the company. The most recent photo showed her at some business conference, hair perfect, expression controlled, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in a month. She looked nothing like the hollow-eyed woman in room 314. Money and power couldn't stop cancer. Couldn't buy someone to hold your hand when the chemo made you too weak to lift your head. Marcus closed the laptop. Emma's breathing was soft and even from her bedroom down the hall. His daughter, his responsibility, his reason for getting up every morning. He had no business getting involved in some stranger's tragedy. He'd barely survived his own. But Friday, after his shift, he stopped at Powell's Books and bought a used mystery novel, the kind with a clever detective and just enough humor to make you forget you were reading about murder. He left it with Dorothy, asking her to put it on Lily's table. No note, no explanation, just a book. Monday brought a small succulent in a terracotta pot. Wednesday, a soft gray blanket that he'd found on sale at Target. Friday, a CD of instrumental music he'd burned from his own collection, the kind of ambient jazz that filled silence without demanding attention. Each time, he handed the item to Dorothy, who accepted them with a knowing smile and asked no questions. Week 2. Marcus's route through the hospital became routine. Finish his shift, stop by the 3rd floor, check through the window that Lily was still there, still breathing, then leave something small with Dorothy. A sketchbook and colored pencils, a postcard of the Oregon coast with no writing, just the image of waves against rocks. Another book, this one poetry, though Marcus had never been much for verse himself. He was standing outside room 314 on a Thursday night, later than usual after dealing with the broken air handler on the 5th floor, when Dorothy appeared beside him. "She's asking about you." The words hit like a physical thing. Marcus turned. "What?" "She wants to know who's been leaving things. I told her I didn't know your name, but she's not buying it." Dorothy's eyes held something almost amused. "She's getting better, you know, sitting up more, talking. The scans this week showed the tumor shrinking. They might move her to a regular ward next week." "That's good. That's really good. Will you be relieved or disappointed when she's not here anymore?" The question cut too close. Marcus looked back through the window. Lily had the sketchbook open on her lap, a pencil moving across the page in slow, careful strokes. I just didn't want her to be alone. I know. Dorothy's hand touched his arm briefly. She wrote you a note, said to give it to you next time you came by. Marcus stared at the small folded paper she held out. The last thing he needed was this becoming real, becoming personal. But his hand took the note anyway. In his truck, under the parking lot lights, he unfolded it. The handwriting was precise, controlled, nothing like the shaky attempts he remembered from Sarah's last weeks. To whoever you are, thank you. I don't know why you're doing this, but it's the only thing keeping me sane. The book made me laugh. The plant is still alive, barely. The blanket smells like fabric softener and normalcy. Please don't stop. L. Marcus sat there long enough that the security guard made a round past his truck, glanced in, kept walking. The note went into his wallet, tucked behind Emma's school photo. He drove home through empty streets, parked in his driveway, and sat in the dark cab until the first hints of dawn started graying the sky. The next visit, he brought a journal, blank pages, leather-bound, the kind of thing he'd never buy for himself, but had seen Sarah use when she was healthy. Dorothy took it with a different expression this time, something almost stern. You should give it to her yourself. I can't. Why not? Because then it becomes something I can't walk away from. Because I have a daughter who needs me stable, and a job that barely covers our bills, and I can't afford to care this much about someone I don't even know. The words stayed trapped. Marcus just shook his head. Room 522. She's being moved tomorrow morning. Still in oncology, but it's a regular room, not ICU. She's strong enough now. Dorothy paused. She asked me to ask you to visit. Actually visit. Every instinct screamed no. The last time Marcus let himself care about someone dying, it had nearly destroyed him. Emma had found him on the bathroom floor 6 months after Sarah's funeral, unable to breathe through the panic attack, and the terror in his 8-year-old daughter's eyes had been worse than any grief. He'd promised himself and her that he'd never fall apart like that again. But Lily's note was in his wallet. The plant is still alive, barely. Something about that desperately optimistic barely. I'll think about it. That night, Emma noticed his distraction over dinner. She'd gotten better at reading him over the past 3 years, her perception sharpening in the way kids do when they learn too young that adults can break. Daddy, you okay? Yeah, baby. Just thinking about work. You do that lip thing when you lie. Marcus touched his mouth reflexively. What lip thing? You bite the corner, like this. She demonstrated, looking so much like Sarah in that moment that his chest hurt. Okay, I'm thinking about helping someone who's sick. Emma set down her fork carefully. Like Mommy was sick? Yeah, like Mommy. Are you scared? Very. Mommy would want you to help. Emma said it with the absolute certainty of a child who still believed the world could be fair if people just tried hard enough. Marcus pulled her into a hug, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. When did you get so smart? I'm 8. I know everything. Friday morning, Marcus called in and took a personal day, the first he'd used in over a year. He dropped Emma at school, went home, showered twice, put on the one button-down shirt he owned that didn't have grease stains, and drove to the hospital with his hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. Room 522 was on the same floor, different wing. Brighter somehow, less institutional. Marcus stood outside for 15 minutes, watching nurses pass, an orderly pushing a meal cart, a doctor checking a tablet while walking. Normal hospital rhythm. Nothing catastrophic about stepping through that door. Nothing permanent. He knocked. "Come in." Lily's voice was stronger than he'd expected. Marcus pushed the door open and stepped into the space between stranger and something else entirely. She was sitting up against pillows, the mystery novel he'd brought open on her lap. Her head was still bald from chemo, skin pale enough to see blue veins at her temples, but her eyes were alert and focused. When she looked at him, recognition sparked immediately, even though they'd never met. "You're real. I was starting to think Dorothy made you up." "I'm real. I'm Marcus." "Lily. But you probably know that already." He moved to the chair beside her bed, sat down carefully like the furniture might break. "Why?" "Straight to it, then." Marcus appreciated that she didn't make him dance around the question. "I walked into the wrong room 3 weeks ago, looking for my friend Jake. You were asleep, and the room was empty." Lily finished for him. No emotion in the word, just fact. "No one should be that alone." She studied him with an intensity that made him want to look away. "I know who you are, too. Dorothy told me some of it. You work here. Maintenance. You fixed the HVAC on this floor last week when I complained it was too cold." Marcus felt heat creep up his neck. "Yeah, that's me. And you have a daughter, 8 years old, Emma. You work night shift to get the differential pay." The exposure was uncomfortable, like standing in bright lights after years in shadow. "I'm not anyone important. Not like you." "Important?" Lily's laugh was sharp, brittle. "I'm the VP of a company worth hundreds of millions. I have an MBA. I live in a penthouse that normal people work their entire lives to afford." She paused, and when she continued, her voice had gone rough. "And when I was dying in that room, not a single person came. Not employees, not business partners, not friends. Just you. The man who fixes air conditioners. So don't tell me about important." The silence stretched between them, filled with monitor beeps and distant conversations from the hallway. Marcus looked at his hands, scarred knuckles, permanent grease stains under the nails no amount of scrubbing ever fully removed. These hands had rebuilt engines, fixed leaking pipes, held Sarah while she died, held Emma while she grieved. They were honest hands. Maybe that was enough. "Will you come back?" Lily's question was quiet, almost tentative. Or was this just a one-time thing to satisfy curiosity? Every rational part of Marcus knew the right answer. He had Emma to think about, a careful life constructed to avoid exactly this kind of complication. But he looked at Lily, brave, broken, alone, and recognized the reflection of his own 3-year-old isolation staring back. "Yeah, I'll come back." Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus visited 4 times. Short visits, 20 or 30 minutes after his shift ended, still in his work uniform, with Emma staying late at Mrs. Rodriguez's house. They talked about nothing important at first: the weather, the hospital food, a news story about the mayor's latest infrastructure proposal. Safe topics that required no vulnerability. Then Lily asked about his work, and Marcus found himself explaining the satisfaction of diagnosing a complex HVAC problem, the logic of airflow and refrigerant cycles, the way systems connected in patterns most people never thought about. She listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she was actually hearing him, not just being polite. "Your job is more than fixing broken things. You make people's lives better without them even realizing it. That's important work." The words settled into a place Marcus hadn't known was empty. When was the last time someone had called his work important? Frank complimented his efficiency, praised his problem-solving, but that was about productivity. This was different. This was about value beyond metrics. The fourth visit, Lily asked about college, and the shame Marcus usually felt discussing his education came flooding back. Didn't finish. Went to community college for 2 years, studying HVAC technology. Then Sarah got pregnant with Emma, and I needed full-time work. Dropped out, never went back. Lily's response wasn't pity. My MBA didn't teach me how to survive cancer, didn't teach me how to face being alone. But you don't need a degree to know how to care about people. Degrees tell you what someone knows. Character tells you who they are. And you, Marcus Hayes, have more character than anyone I've met. The statement landed with unexpected weight. Marcus had spent years believing he was less than, less educated, less successful, less worthy of respect. But Lily saw something different. Saw him. I want you to meet Emma. The words came out before Marcus fully processed them. If you want to, I mean. She's been asking about where I go on Thursday evenings. I'd love that. Saturday afternoon, Marcus brought Emma to the hospital. His daughter was nervous, clutching her sketchbook against her chest, wearing the purple dress she saved for special occasions. In the elevator, she grabbed his hand. What if she doesn't like me? Everyone likes you. You're the best kid in the world. What if I say something wrong? About her being sick? Just be yourself, baby. That's always enough. Room 522's door was open. Lily had moved to the chair by the window, wearing regular clothes instead of a hospital gown, a headscarf covering her bald scalp. When she saw Emma, her entire expression shifted. Something genuine and warm breaking through the controlled exterior. You must be Emma. Your dad's told me so much about you. Emma nodded, suddenly shy. You're really pretty. Thank you. I don't feel very pretty these days, but that's kind of you to say. Daddy says you're really smart, that you went to a fancy school. I did, but you know what? I was terrible at math. Still am. Your dad says you're great at it. Emma's face brightened. I got 100 on my last test. That's incredible. I'm impressed. They talked for 10 minutes, Emma gradually relaxing, pulling out her sketchbook when Lily asked about her hobbies. Marcus watched from his position by the door, something in his chest loosening with each shared smile. When Emma showed Lily a drawing of their house, Lily studied it with the same focused attention she'd given Marcus's explanations of HVAC systems. This is beautiful. You have real talent. Have you ever tried watercolors? No, we only have colored pencils at home. I used to paint with watercolors in college, had a minor in art before business took over my life. Maybe next time you visit, we could try together? Really? Emma's excitement was pure, uncomplicated. Can I, Daddy? If Lily doesn't mind, I'd love it. The drive home, Emma talked non-stop about Lily, how nice she was, how cool it was that she knew about art, how she couldn't wait to try watercolors. Marcus listened and tried to ignore the fear threading through his relief. This was getting real. Emma was getting attached. If Lily's cancer came back, if treatment failed, his daughter would lose another person she cared about. But watching Emma's joy was worth the risk. Maybe some things were. Week 6 brought Lily's discharge. The scans looked good, treatment had been effective, she could continue chemotherapy on an outpatient basis. Marcus helped her pack the accumulation of weeks, books, the blanket, the dried sunflowers she'd insisted on keeping in a vase, the sketchbook now filled with Emma's drawings. Ready to go home? He folded the blanket into her bag. Lily looked around the room with an expression Marcus couldn't quite read. This is going to sound insane, but I'm scared. Here I knew the routine. Nurses every 4 hours, meals on schedule, someone always around. Out there, I'm alone again. You have my number. Call any time. 2 a.m. insomnia, 3 p.m. panic attacks, whenever, okay? Okay. Her apartment was in the Pearl District, a gleaming high-rise with a doorman who looked at Marcus's beat-up truck like it was leaking oil on the pristine driveway. The elevator required a key card to access the penthouse level. When the doors opened directly into Lily's living space, Marcus stopped and stared. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Portland skyline. Hardwood floors, designer furniture, kitchen with marble countertops and appliances Marcus had only seen in magazines. Art on the walls that probably cost more than his annual salary. The space was beautiful and cold and utterly impersonal. Lily set her bag down and looked around like a stranger. I haven't been here in 2 months. It doesn't feel like home anymore. It never really did. It's very... Marcus searched for a word that wasn't judgmental. Big. Too big for one person. She walked to the windows, stared out at the city below. I bought it because that's what successful people do, right? Buy expensive things. Fill empty spaces with expensive things. He wanted to say something comforting, but the wealth gap between them felt suddenly impossible. This apartment probably rented for more than Marcus made in a year, maybe 2 years. He was a maintenance worker in work boots and a faded Carhartt jacket, standing in a space where he didn't belong. Let me help you settle in. He focused on practical things, unpacking her bag, checking the fridge and throwing out everything expired, writing down her medication schedule, fixing a dripping faucet in the bathroom sink because he couldn't help himself. Lily watched from the couch, and when he finished, she caught his hand as he prepared to leave. Thank you for not letting me do this alone. Never alone. Remember that. 3 days later, she texted. Made it to my first outpatient appointment. Dr. Patel says everything looks good. That's great. How are you feeling? Tired. Weird being home. Too quiet. Want company? I can bring coffee. I'd like that. Marcus drove to her building after dropping Emma at school, stopped at a coffee cart, and rode the elevator up with 2 cups and a growing sense that he was crossing lines he'd never planned to approach. Lily answered the door in sweatpants and an oversized sweater, looking more human than he'd ever seen her. They sat on her couch and talked about her appointment, about Emma's upcoming school play, about nothing and everything. Over the following weeks, a pattern emerged. Marcus visited 3 times a week, sometimes with Emma, sometimes alone. They met for coffee at places that weren't in the Pearl District, where the wealth disparity was less obvious. Lily came to his house for dinner, marveling at the simplicity of his kitchen, the crayon drawings stuck to the refrigerator, the comfortable chaos of a life actually lived. Emma adored her. Lily taught his daughter watercolor techniques, helped with an art project for school, listened to Emma's stories with patient attention. Marcus watched them together and felt something dangerous blooming in his chest. Hope that this could last, that they could build something real across the gulf of their different worlds. Then reality arrived in the form of Margaret Patterson at a Pearl District coffee shop on a Saturday afternoon. Marcus had agreed to meet Lily there despite his discomfort, and they were deep in conversation about Emma's birthday plans when the woman appeared beside their table. Victoria, darling! We haven't seen you at the chamber meetings. Are you okay? Lily's entire body tensed. Hi, Margaret. I've been taking some time off. Margaret's eyes flicked to Marcus, scanning him from work boots to faded jeans, to the jacket he'd worn because it was his newest, though still 5 years old. "And who's this?" "This is Marcus." "Marcus. Margaret Patterson. She's on the board of—" "Hayes." Marcus extended his hand. "Marcus Hayes." The handshake was brief, dismissive. "Hayes. I don't believe I know that family name. Which firm are you with?" "I'm not with a firm. I work at St. Catherine Hospital." "Oh, administration?" "My husband's hospital group owns several. Maintenance. I'm head of the maintenance crew." Silence. Margaret's smile froze into something sharp and cold. The judgment was immediate and total. Marcus could see it in her eyes, the reassessment of Lily, the confusion about why someone like Victoria Anderson would be sitting in public with someone like him. "Marcus, I need to—" "Margaret, can we catch up later? We're in the middle of something." Lily's voice had taken on an edge Marcus had never heard before. "Of course. Lovely to meet you, Mr. Hayes." Margaret left, but not before one more pointed look that said everything her polite words hadn't. "I'm sorry." Lily's hand found his across the table. "She's incredibly snobby." "She's not wrong. I am a maintenance worker. That's the truth. But you shouldn't be ashamed of it. You don't understand, Lily. To you, my job is noble or whatever. But to your world, to people like Margaret, I'm just the help, invisible. You're not invisible to me. Now. But when you go back to work full-time, when you're back in that world, what am I then? Your embarrassing secret?" "Never." Lily's grip tightened. "I don't care what people think. I care about you." But Marcus saw the doubt in his own reflection in the coffee shop window. A man who didn't belong, trying to convince himself that love could bridge the unbridgeable. The conversation ended there, but the wound stayed open. Marcus drove home and sat in his driveway for 20 minutes, trying to convince himself he was overreacting, that Margaret Patterson didn't matter. But she did. She was a preview of every interaction Lily would have if they stayed together. People questioning, judging, wondering what she was doing with someone so far beneath her station. That night, Emma asked if Lily could come to her birthday party next month. Marcus said yes, because saying no would require explanations he didn't want to give. But lying in bed later, staring at the ceiling, he wondered if he was setting them all up for a fall that would hurt worse than any he'd survived before. His phone buzzed. "Lily. Are you okay? You've been quiet since this afternoon." Marcus typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, "Just tired. Long day." The lie tasted bitter, but the truth, that he was terrified of loving her, terrified of losing her, terrified that he would never be enough, felt too raw to put into words. Another text. "I meant what I said. You're not invisible to me. You never will be." He wanted to believe her, wanted it so desperately it felt like a physical ache. But wanting something didn't make it possible. Marcus had learned that lesson 3 years ago when wanting Sarah to survive hadn't stopped the cancer from winning. He turned off his phone and tried to sleep, but the worry followed him into restless dreams where he stood outside Lily's penthouse, pressing the buzzer, and no one answered. Marcus spent the next week avoiding Lily's texts. Not ignoring them entirely, that would have been cruel, but responding with one-word answers and manufactured excuses. Emma noticed first, asking why Lily hadn't come over for their usual Thursday dinner. Marcus mumbled something about work schedules and watched his daughter's face fall. The guilt sat heavy in his gut, but the alternative felt worse. Better to pull back now than watch Lily realize months from now that dating a maintenance worker was damaging her reputation. On Tuesday, Lily showed up at his house unannounced. Marcus opened the door to find her standing on his porch, arms crossed, expression harder than he'd ever seen. We need to talk. Emma's at school. I have to leave for work in 20 minutes. Then we'll talk fast. She walked past him into the living room, turned to face him with the kind of controlled anger that came from boardrooms and high-stakes negotiations. You're pulling away. Don't deny it. I can feel it. So either tell me what's wrong or tell me you're done. But stop doing this half-present thing. Marcus closed the door, leaned against it. I'm trying to be realistic. About us. About what happens when you go back to your life full-time. My life includes you now. Does it? Because Margaret Patterson didn't think so. And she's just the first. There will be more. Your colleagues, your investors, everyone in your world who thinks you're slumming it with the guy who fixes toilets. I don't care what they think. You should. Your reputation matters. Your company matters. I'm not going to be the thing that ruins what you've built. Lily's jaw tightened. You think you're protecting me by pushing me away? You think I need protecting? I think you deserve someone who fits in your world. Someone you don't have to explain or defend or apologize for. The silence stretched between them, sharp and painful. When Lily finally spoke, her voice had gone quiet, stripped of anger. You're scared. That's what this is really about. You're scared of caring about me because you think I'm going to leave or die or disappoint you somehow. The accusation hit too close. Marcus looked away. I can't do this again. Lose someone again. Emma can't either. So you're choosing to lose me now? Before you have to lose me later? Lily stepped closer. That's not protecting anyone. That's just being a coward. The word stung precisely because it was accurate. Marcus met her eyes. Maybe I am. But at least this way we all survive. Surviving isn't the same as living. Lily's hand touched his chest, right over his heart. You taught me that. In that hospital room, when you kept showing up for someone you didn't even know. That was living. This is just hiding. She left without waiting for a response. Marcus stood in his empty living room and tried to convince himself he'd made the right choice. The house felt too quiet. Everything felt too quiet. Work that night was a blur of routine maintenance and forced concentration. Frank Rodriguez noticed, pulling Marcus aside during break. You look like hell. Just tired. Woman trouble? Marcus almost laughed. Something like that. Frank, 62 and weathered from 4 decades of manual labor, leaned against the wall. I ever tell you about my first wife? Not Janet, the one before. Michelle. She was a lawyer, real fancy education. I was fixing her office building's heating system when we met. She thought I was fascinating. All that working-class authenticity. Lasted 2 years before she realized being married to a mechanic wasn't as romantic as dating one. The story landed with uncomfortable weight. What happened? She left for someone more appropriate, another lawyer. I was angry for years, thought she was just shallow. But truth is, I never believed I was good enough for her. So I acted like it. Pushed her away with my insecurity until she had no choice but to go. You think that's what I'm doing? Frank shrugged. I think fear makes us do stupid things. And I think if you found someone who sees you, really sees you, letting that go because you're scared is the stupidest thing of all. Marcus returned to his rounds with Frank's words echoing. By the time his shift ended at 11, he'd made a decision. But pulling into his driveway, he saw Mrs. Rodriguez's porch light flashing, their signal for emergencies. His heart seized. Emma. He ran. Mrs. Rodriguez met him at her door, Emma behind her with tear-streaked cheeks. "She's okay, she's okay." Mrs. Rodriguez held up calming hands. "Just a nightmare. She wanted you." Marcus scooped Emma into his arms, carried her home. She was too old to be carried, really, but she wrapped herself around him anyway. In her bedroom, he sat on the edge of her bed while she buried her face in her pillow. "I dreamed Mommy came back, but you were gone, and Lily was gone, and I was all alone." The words shattered something in Marcus's chest. "Oh, baby, I'm not going anywhere. I promise." "But Lily is. You made her go away." Emma's perception cut deeper than any adult accusation could have. "I didn't make her go anywhere." "Yes, you did. You got scared like you always do when things are good." Emma sat up, wiping her eyes. "I heard you and Mrs. Rodriguez talking last month. You said you don't deserve to be happy. But Daddy, that's stupid." "Emma, no, it is. Mommy died and it was horrible and I miss her every day. But she wouldn't want you to be sad forever." "She wouldn't want you to push away someone who makes you smile again." Marcus pulled his daughter close. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm 8. I know everything." Emma's voice was muffled against his shoulder. "Please don't lose Lily. I love her." The admission was quiet, but devastating. Marcus had been so focused on protecting himself and Emma from potential loss that he'd failed to see they'd already let Lily in. Pushing her away now wouldn't prevent pain, it would guarantee it. He stayed with Emma until she fell back asleep, then sat in his kitchen with his phone. The text to Lily took 15 minutes to write. "I'm sorry. You're right, I'm scared. But I'm more scared of losing you because I was too afraid to try. Can we talk?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Tomorrow, my place, 7 p.m. Marcus barely slept. The next day crawled past with agonizing slowness. He dropped Emma at school, worked his shift with distracted efficiency, picked Emma up, and deposited her at Mrs. Rodriguez's with promises to explain everything later. At 6:45, he stood outside Lily's building, trying to settle his racing heart. The elevator ride felt like descending into uncertainty. When Millie opened her door, she looked as exhausted as he felt. They stood in her entryway, neither moving. "I don't know how to do this." Marcus's voice came out rough. "I don't know how to love someone and not be terrified of losing them." Lily stepped closer. "You think I'm not terrified? I'm in remission, but cancer could come back tomorrow. I could die next year or in 50 years, and either way, I'm scared. But Marcus, fear doesn't go away just because you're alone. It just gets louder." "So what do we do?" "We choose anyway. We choose each other and deal with the fear together." Marcus closed the distance between them, pulled her into his arms. The embrace was tight, desperate, full of all the words he couldn't say. When they finally separated, Lily was crying. "I need you to understand something." Her hands framed his face. "I'm not Sarah. I'm not going to die just because you care about me. And even if I did, even if the absolute worst happens, wouldn't you rather have whatever time we get than nothing at all?" The question was the same one he'd been avoiding for weeks. The answer terrified him. But Emma's voice echoed, "She wouldn't want you to be sad forever." "Yes, I'd rather have you, whatever that means." They kissed, and it felt like falling and flying simultaneously. When they broke apart, Lily's expression had shifted to something almost mischievous. Good, because I need to show you something. She led him to her home office, where her laptop displayed a document covered in legal terminology. Marcus squinted at it. What am I looking at? My resignation as CEO of Anderson Medical Solutions. His brain stuttered to a stop. What? Why? Because I've spent 10 years building a company my parents started, and I almost died alone because of it. I'm stepping down to chairman of the board. Richard Patterson can run daily operations. He did fine while I was sick. I'll guide strategy and major decisions, but I'm done sacrificing my life for work. Lily, you can't just walk away from. I'm not walking away. I'm choosing what matters. The company will be fine, better than fine. But I won't get another chance at this. She gestured between them, at us. At actually living instead of just working until I die. The magnitude of her decision settled over Marcus. When? I told the board yesterday, effective April 1st, before I even agreed to stop being an idiot? Lily smiled. I was hoping you'd stop being an idiot. But even if you hadn't, I was done living that way. You showed me what it feels like to be seen as a person, not a title. I want more of that, whether it's with you or by myself. Marcus kissed her again, slower this time. Against her lips, it's with me. If you'll have a maintenance worker who comes with baggage and a daughter and absolutely no idea how to navigate your world. I don't want you to navigate my world. I want us to build our own. Over the following weeks, they found their rhythm. Lily came to Marcus's house for dinner 3 nights a week, helping Emma with art projects and engaging in elaborate card games that usually ended with Emma declaring victory and both adults pretending to be devastated by their loss. Marcus brought Lily to Jake's birthday barbecue, where his blue-collar friends treated her like any other girlfriend, teasing Marcus about his luck and asking Lily if she could explain the Blazers' terrible draft picks. The class divide didn't disappear. Lily's penthouse still made Marcus uncomfortable, and he caught himself noticing the designer labels on her casual clothes, the effortless way she tipped service workers, amounts that would have covered his grocery budget. But she also spent Saturday mornings in his kitchen making pancakes with Emma, wore his old sweatshirt when they watched movies, laughed at his terrible jokes about thermodynamics. 10 weeks after their reconciliation, Lily showed up at his house on a Thursday evening with an unusual expression, nervous excitement mixed with something Marcus couldn't identify. I have a proposition. She set her back down in his living room, and before you say no, just listen. Okay. You mentioned that Frank Rodriguez is retiring next spring, that the director of facilities position will open up. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, but I don't have the certification for that level. I'd need a master HVAC certification, and the course alone is $8,000, plus 6 months of evening classes. I can't afford either the money or the time.
What if you could?
What do you mean?
Lily pulled out a folder. I talked to Frank and to the hospital's HR director. They're creating a new program, investing in promising employees by funding advanced certifications. You'd be the first recipient. Full tuition, schedule adjusted to accommodate your current work and parenting responsibilities.
Marcus took the folder, opened it to see official hospital letterhead, his name on the scholarship notification. His hands started shaking. Lily, this is... How did you...
The hospital needs good people in leadership positions. Frank recommended you. I just helped them see the value of the investment.
The truth crystallized slowly. You funded this. Not the hospital. You.
The hospital is funding it. I just made a donation to their employee development program. It's anonymous.
No one knows it came from me except Frank and the HR director, and they're not going to say anything. Anger flared, unexpected and hot. I don't need charity. It's not charity. Lily's voice rose to match his. It's investing in someone talented who deserves opportunities he's never been able to afford. There's a difference. Not to me. Marcus dropped the folder on the coffee table. How is this different from you buying my success? From people thinking I'm only getting ahead because I'm sleeping with someone rich? Are you serious right now? You've worked 15 years to get where you are. You've earned this promotion 10 times over. The only thing stopping you is money. And I have money. Why is it wrong to use it to help someone I love? Because it makes me dependent on you. It makes everything people like Margaret Patterson think about us true. That I'm with you for what you can give me. Lily stepped back like he'd slapped her. You really believe that? After everything, you think I'd use money to control you? Marcus ran his hands through his hair, frustration and shame warring in his chest. I don't know what I think. I just know I need to earn things myself. I need to prove I'm worth promoting because I'm good at my job, not because my girlfriend bought me a certification. The silence that followed was jagged. Lily's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. You're right. I overstepped. I thought I was helping, but I was just doing what I always do, throwing money at problems. That's not fair to you. Lily, no. You're right. She picked up her bag. I'm sorry. I'll tell the hospital to withdraw the scholarship offer. Wait. Marcus caught her arm. Don't go. I need to think about this. What's there to think about? You said you want to earn it yourself, so earn it. I won't interfere. She left before Marcus could formulate a response. He stood in his living room, staring at the scholarship folder, feeling like he'd just destroyed something precious by being too proud to accept help. Emma emerged from her bedroom where she'd supposedly been reading. You made her cry. I didn't mean to. She was trying to help you and you got mad. That's dumb. Emma, it's complicated. No, it's not. She loves you and wants you to be happy. You love her and are scared. That's not complicated. That's just being a grown-up who's bad at feelings. Marcus almost laughed despite everything. Where do you learn this stuff? YouTube. And also I hear you and Mrs. Rodriguez talking more than you think. He pulled Emma into a hug. What do I do? Say you're sorry. Take the help. Stop being scared of good things. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He researched the Master HVAC certification program, looked at the curriculum, calculated how long it would take to save the tuition on his own. 18 months minimum, if he cut every possible expense and picked up overtime whenever available. By then, the director position would be filled. He'd have missed his window. Around 2 a.m., the truth settled like weight on his chest. Lily was right. The only thing stopping him was money. And pride. The question was whether his pride was worth more than his future. Worth more than being able to provide better for Emma. Worth more than proving to himself that he was capable of more. He texted Lily, "Are you awake?" Her response came immediately. Yes, can I come over? Now? Please? 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in Lily's penthouse, both of them in pajamas, exhausted and emotionally raw. I'm sorry. He started there because nothing else mattered until he said it. You were trying to help, and I made it about my insecurity instead of your generosity. That was wrong. You weren't completely wrong. Lily sat on her couch, pulling a blanket around herself. I do try to solve problems with money. It's what I'm good at. But you're not a problem to solve. I know. Marcus sat beside her. But maybe I need to stop seeing help as weakness. Sarah and I did everything ourselves. We were proud of it. But that pride also meant we struggled with things we didn't have to struggle with. Maybe there's a middle path. What does that look like? I take the scholarship. I work my ass off in that certification program and prove I earned the promotion through skill, not connections. You support me the way partners support each other, showing up, believing in me, but letting me succeed or fail on my own merits. Lily's hand found his. I can do that. And I try to be less of an idiot about accepting help when I need it. That's a high bar. You're a very accomplished idiot. Marcus laughed, the tension finally breaking. I love you. Even when I'm being stupid, even when I'm scared. I love you. I love you too. Lily leaned her head on his shoulder. Even though you're exhausting. They sat in comfortable silence until Lily's breathing evened into sleep. Marcus carefully shifted so she was lying across his lap, and he stayed there, watching the city lights through her windows, thinking about pride and partnership and the courage it took to accept help from someone who offered it freely. 3 weeks later, Marcus started his certification courses. The program was rigorous, 3 evenings a week after his shift, plus weekend study sessions. Emma complained about seeing him less, but Lily filled the gap, picking Emma up from school on Marcus's class nights and helping with homework. The domesticity of it all should have terrified him. Instead, it felt like building something solid. By week 4, Marcus realized he was actually good at this. The theoretical knowledge behind systems he'd spent 15 years fixing gave him new insights. His instructor, a retired master technician named Bill, pulled him aside after class. You've got a natural aptitude for this. Ever think about teaching once you get your certification? Marcus hadn't, but the idea planted itself, something to consider for a future that suddenly felt wider than he'd imagined. Month 2 brought Lily's 3-month scan. Marcus took her to the appointment, sitting in the waiting room with his hands clenched while she met with Dr. Patel. When she emerged 45 minutes later, her expression was unreadable. Well? Clean. Still in remission. Dr. Patel says I can move to 6-month check-ins. Relief hit so hard, Marcus's knees went weak. That's incredible. Lily nodded, but her eyes were wet. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for it to come back. Hey, Marcus pulled her close. It might never come back. You get to live like it won't. How do you do that? How do you live with the uncertainty? Because the alternative is wasting the time you have being scared of losing it. And I already did that for 3 years. Not doing it anymore. They celebrated with dinner at Emma's favorite pizza place, the 3 of them squeezed into a booth meant for 4. Emma ordered extra cheese and pepperoni, and Lily let her design a terrible dessert combination of ice cream and gummy bears. Marcus watched them laugh together and felt something settle in his chest. Not the absence of fear, but the presence of something stronger. That night, after Emma went to bed, Lily stayed. They'd been careful about that boundary, Marcus not wanting to confuse Emma or move too fast. But something had shifted. Lily sat on his couch, and instead of keeping careful distance, Marcus pulled her against him. Stay tonight. Not, he stumbled over the words, we don't have to do anything. I just want you here. Lily kissed him, slow and thorough. Okay. They ended up in his bedroom, which still had the same furniture from when Sarah was alive. Marcus half expected guilt or weirdness, but there was only rightness. Lily fit against him like she'd always belonged there. They kissed until kissing wasn't enough, and then Marcus pulled back. I haven't, not since Sarah. I don't know if I remember how to do this. Lily's smile was gentle. Pretty sure it's like riding a bike. What if I'm terrible at it? Then we'll figure it out together. That seems to be our thing. The lovemaking was careful and awkward and perfect. Afterwards, lying in the dark with Lily's head on his chest, Marcus felt tears on his face. He wasn't sad, wasn't grieving, just overwhelmed by the realization that he was allowed to have this, to love someone new without erasing what he'd had before. You okay? Lily's fingers traced patterns on his ribs. Yeah, just happy. Good kind of tears, then. The best kind. Morning brought Emma bursting into the bedroom, stopping short when she saw Lily. For a terrifying moment, Marcus wasn't sure how his daughter would react. Then Emma grinned. Does this mean Lily's staying forever? How would you feel about that? Emma launched herself onto the bed between them. I'd feel great. Can we have pancakes? Lily laughed, and Marcus kissed the top of Emma's head, and they went to make pancakes together like a family that knew what it was doing, even though none of them had any idea. The certification program consumed Marcus's fall. Between work, classes, studying, and family time, he was perpetually exhausted. But he was also energized in a way he hadn't been since before Sarah got sick. Having goals beyond just surviving felt revolutionary. Week 12 brought the midterm exam. Marcus studied until his eyes burned, Emma quizzing him from flashcards, while Lily made coffee and ordered takeout. The exam was brutal. 4 hours of technical questions and practical troubleshooting scenarios. Marcus left feeling like he'd either aced it or completely failed. Results came 2 days later. 94%. Top of his class. Frank Rodriguez found him in the maintenance office, holding the score sheet. Told you, you're management material. I haven't even applied for the director position yet. You will. And when you do, you'll be ready. That evening, Marcus took Lily and Emma to dinner at a nicer restaurant than they usually went to. Emma ordered steak and made exaggerated, sophisticated faces while cutting it. Lily wore a dress that probably cost more than the entire meal, but she'd also painted her nails with Emma earlier, and they were bright purple with gold stars. I have news. Lily set down her fork. The board finalized my transition today. As of January 1st, Richard Patterson is CEO. I'm chairman of the board 20 hours a week, mostly strategic planning and quarterly reviews. How do you feel? Lighter, scared, free, all of it. What will you do with all your extra time? Lily looked at Emma, then at Marcus. I was thinking about volunteering, maybe with cancer patients, people who are alone in treatment. Emma's eyes went huge, like how Daddy helped you. Exactly like that. Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. You're going to be amazing at it. December arrived with Portland rain and holiday lights. Emma's school concert was on the 15th. Marcus sat in the auditorium between Lily and Mrs. Rodriguez, watching his daughter sing off-key with complete confidence in a choir that was more enthusiasm than talent. When it ended, Lily was crying. You okay? I just never thought I'd have this. Family things. Normal, boring, beautiful family things. Marcus kissed her temple. Get used to it. We're very boring. The week before Christmas, Marcus finished his certification program. The final exam was comprehensive, written test plus practical demonstration of complex system diagnostics. He worked through scenarios methodically, years of experience guiding his hands even when his brain wanted to panic. When Bill announced he'd passed with a 96% average, Marcus had to sit down. That night, Lily had a surprise. She'd invited Frank Rodriguez, Dorothy Chen, Jake Morrison, and a handful of Marcus's coworkers to his house for a celebration. Emma had made a banner reading, "Dad's a master now," with glitter and questionable spelling. The house filled with people who'd watched Marcus work for years, all of them genuinely proud. Frank pulled him aside during the party. "Director position opens in March. Applications next month. You're applying." "I am." "Good. Because you've earned it. Not because of who you're dating. Not because of scholarships. Because you're the best damn technician this hospital has seen. And you've got the leadership skills to back it up." The validation meant everything. Marcus had spent months worried that accepting Lily's help had tainted his achievement. But looking around his living room at people who knew his work, who'd seen his skill long before Lily entered the picture, he finally believed it. He'd earned this. Christmas morning, Emma woke them at 6 with demands to open presents. Marcus's gift to Lily was a painting he'd commissioned from a local artist, the view from her penthouse windows, but with 3 silhouettes in the foreground, a man, a woman, and a child holding hands. Lily cried. "It's perfect." Her gift to him was a leather-bound journal. Inside the front cover she'd written, "For all the thoughts you don't know how to say, I'll listen when you're ready." Emma got art supplies, a new bike, and a puppy poster because Marcus had firmly vetoed the real thing. They spent the day in pajamas, eating cinnamon rolls Lily had learned to make from a YouTube video, watching Emma's favorite movies, being completely ordinary. That evening, after Emma fell asleep, surrounded by wrapping paper and new toys, Marcus and Lily sat on his couch. She'd been quieter than usual all day, and he finally asked, "What's on your mind?" "I love you." "I love you too, but that's not what you're thinking about." Lily turned to face him, nervous in a way that made Marcus's heart speed up. "I know we've only been together 8 months. I know that's fast. But I'm done wasting time pretending I don't know what I want." "What do you want?" "You. Emma. This life we're building. All of it, permanently." "Lily, I'm not asking you to propose. I'm asking if you can see it. A future where we're together not just for now, but for keeps." Marcus thought about the painting on her wall, about Emma calling Lily to help with homework, about waking up with her in his bed feeling right instead of wrong, about the way his life had gone from black and white to full color since she'd entered it. "Yeah, I can see it." "Good. Because I bought a house." "You what?" Lily pulled out her phone, showed him a listing. 4 bedrooms, backyard, good school district. Not in the Pearl District, in the suburbs, closer to Marcus's current neighborhood. "I put an offer in last week. They accepted yesterday. I close in February." "Why?" "Because I'm done living in that penthouse alone. And I thought maybe, if you wanted, we could make it our house. You and Emma and me. Eventually." The enormity of it settled slowly. "You're asking us to move in with you?" "I'm asking if you'd consider it. No pressure. We can take things as slow as you need, but Marcus, I'm all in. I have been since you left those sunflowers in my hospital room." Marcus kissed her, pouring everything he couldn't say into the gesture. When they broke apart, "Let me talk to Emma. But yeah, I want that. I want all of it." They spent the rest of the night planning a future that felt impossibly bright. Marcus tried not to think about all the ways it could fall apart. Cancer returning, his insecurity resurfacing, the class divide proving too much. For once, he just let himself be happy. New Year's Eve arrived with unexpected snowfall. Portland rarely got snow, and Emma was beside herself with excitement. They built a lopsided snowman in Marcus's front yard, Lily contributing a designer scarf that Emma insisted the snowman needed to be fancy. At midnight, Marcus and Lily stood on his porch while Emma watched the neighbors' fireworks through the window. The city was quiet, blanketed in white, full of possibility. "What are you hoping for this year?" Lily's breath misted in the cold air. "This. More of this." Marcus pulled her closer. "You?" "Same. And maybe for you to stop waiting for disaster." "I'm working on it." "Work harder." He kissed her as fireworks exploded overhead, and for the first time in years, Marcus let himself believe that good things could last, that he deserved them. That loving Lily wasn't tempting fate, it was choosing life. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. And that was enough. January brought the job application. Marcus sat at his kitchen table with the hospital's director of facilities posting open on his laptop, the cursor blinking in the empty form fields. Frank had already submitted his retirement notice effective April 1st. The position required a master HVAC certification, which Marcus now had, plus 5 years of facilities management experience and demonstrated leadership capabilities. On paper, he qualified. In his gut, imposter syndrome screamed that he was reaching too far. Emma climbed into the chair beside him, still in her pajamas. "What are you doing?" "Applying for a promotion." "The one that means you'll have an office?" "And a team to manage." "And a lot more responsibility." "Are you scared?" Marcus looked at his daughter, wondering when she'd learned to read him so precisely. "Yeah, baby. A little." Lily says being scared means it matters. If you weren't scared, it wouldn't be important. When did she say that? Last week when I was scared about my math test? She was right, too. I got an A-. Marcus pulled Emma onto his lap. "You know what? You're both pretty smart." He finished the application that afternoon, attached his certification credentials and 3 letters of recommendation, one from Frank, one from Bill, his instructor, one from the hospital's chief operating officer who'd worked with Marcus on the HVAC crisis in the executive wing last fall. The submit button felt like jumping off a cliff. Marcus clicked it before he could talk himself out of it. 2 days later, Lily's house closed. Marcus took a personal day to help her move, expecting a fleet of professional movers. Instead, Lily showed up in jeans and a sweatshirt with a rented truck. "I packed everything myself. Most of it's going to storage. I only want to bring what actually matters." The penthouse looked different, stripped of its designer furniture and expensive art. Hollow. Lily walked through the empty rooms one last time, and Marcus stayed quiet, recognizing the ritual of saying goodbye to a version of herself she was leaving behind. Any regrets? Not one. She took his hand. "Let's go home." The new house was a 1970s ranch badly in need of updating. The kitchen had original appliances, the bathroom tile was harvest gold, and the backyard fence leaned at a concerning angle. But it had 4 bedrooms, a basement workshop Marcus was already mentally filling with tools, and a massive oak tree perfect for the swing Emma had been begging for. They spent the weekend painting Emma's room. She'd chosen purple with white stars on the ceiling. Lily had surprising skill with a roller, working with focused intensity that made Marcus smile. When Emma went to wash paint off her hands, Lily caught Marcus looking. "What?" "Just thinking about the first time I saw you, in that hospital bed. Never imagined we'd end up here. Life's weird that way. The best weird." They kissed, getting paint in each other's hair, and Emma returned to declare them both gross, but in a way that clearly delighted her. Mid-January, Marcus got called for his first interview. The panel included the hospital's COO, the head of human resources, and 2 members of the facilities committee. And Lily, who Marcus hadn't known, served on the hospital's charitable board. His stomach dropped when he walked in and saw her. She met his eyes with calm professionalism, giving nothing away. The interview lasted 90 minutes, technical questions about system management, scenarios about staff conflicts, budget planning exercises. Marcus drew on 15 years of experience, speaking with confidence he'd built through thousands of repair calls and crisis situations. "Why should we promote you over external candidates with more formal education?" Marcus took a breath. "Because I know this building from the inside out. I know that the 3rd floor HVAC has a quirk in the compressor cycle that's not in any manual. I know the electrical panel in the East Wing needs upgrading within 2 years. I know the maintenance staff, their strengths, their concerns, their families. A degree tells you what someone learned from books. Experience tells you what they learned from doing. I've been doing this for 15 years. One board member leaned forward. "You're currently making $52,000 a year. This position starts at $82,000 with full benefits and an education stipend for dependents. How would that change impact your work?" Marcus thought about Emma's college fund, about not having to choose between fixing his truck and paying for groceries, about being able to take Lily on an actual vacation. "It would mean I could focus on leadership instead of worrying about overtime. It would mean I could invest in my team's development the way this hospital invested in mine through the certification program. And it would mean I could give my daughter opportunities I never had." The interview ended with handshakes and promises to notify him within 2 weeks. Outside, Marcus waited for Lily in the parking lot. She emerged 20 minutes later, still in professional mode. "You did great. I saw you taking notes. What did you write?" "That I'm biased and shouldn't be on this panel," she smiled, "but also that you gave the best answer to the salary question I've ever heard." "What happens now?" "Now we wait, and try not to drive each other crazy with anticipation." They managed 3 days before anxiety won. Marcus checked his email obsessively, jumped every time his phone rang, second-guessed every answer he'd given. Lily finally banned work talk after dinner, instituting a new rule that evenings were for family only. Emma thrived on the routine. She'd started calling the new house our house, and Lily Mom, without any prompting or discussion. The casualness of it gutted Marcus in the best way, his daughter accepting this new configuration of family like it had always been the plan. One evening in late January, Marcus was helping Emma with homework when she asked, "When are you and Lily getting married?" The question came out of nowhere. "We haven't really talked about that." "But you love her, right?" "Very much." "And she loves you?" "Yes." "And we all live together now, so that's basically married, except you didn't have a party." Marcus laughed despite the knot in his chest. "Marriage is more than just living together, baby." "I know. It's promising to stay together forever." Emma looked at him with devastating seriousness. "Are you going to promise that?" "Do you want me to?" "Yeah." Because then Lily's really my mom, and I don't have to worry about her leaving. The fear beneath the question broke something in Marcus. Oh, Emma. Lily's not leaving whether we get married or not, but married is more official. Emma returned to her math worksheet like the matter was settled. That night, after Emma went to bed, Marcus found Lily reading in their bedroom. Still strange to think there, but getting easier daily. He sat on the edge of the bed. Emma asked when we're getting married. Lily set down her book. What did you tell her? That we haven't discussed it. But it got me thinking. About the fact that I want to marry you. Not because Emma asked, not because it's the next logical step, because I want everyone to know you're mine and I'm yours, and this is permanent. Marcus Hayes, are you proposing? No, because when I propose, it's going to be better than this. But I'm telling you I'm going to. Soon. Lily pulled him down for a kiss that turned into more than a kiss. Later, wrapped around each other in the dark, she whispered, I'm going to say yes, just so you know. I'd be devastated if you didn't. February 2nd. Marcus got the call. The COO's voice was professionally warm. We'd like to offer you the Director of Facilities position. $82,000 annual salary, full benefits, education stipend, starting April 1st. Marcus sat down hard in the hospital break room. I accept. Thank you. Congratulations. You earned this, Marcus. The work you've done here speaks for itself. After hanging up, Marcus stared at his phone until Frank Rodriguez found him. You get it? Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Told you. Frank clapped his shoulder. You ready to be the boss? Ask me again when it's real. The news spread fast. By the end of his shift, coworkers were stopping by to congratulate him. Jake texted, Drinks this weekend to celebrate your fancy new office. Dorothy sent a card to his work locker. Knew you were special from the day you left those flowers. Marcus drove home in a daze. Lily and Emma were making dinner, flour everywhere, Emma standing on a stool to reach the counter. When he walked in, they both turned. Well, I got it. Emma shrieked and launched herself at him. Lily followed, wrapping them both in a hug that smelled like vanilla and home. They celebrated with the slightly burned cookies Emma had been making, and Marcus called his mother in Seattle, the first time they'd spoken in 6 months. She cried hearing about the promotion, about Lily, about Emma thriving. The distance between them was still there, built from years of Marcus pulling away after Sarah's death, but maybe it could be bridged. That weekend, Marcus took Emma ring shopping. She took the mission seriously, examining every diamond with 9-year-old intensity. This one's too small. This one's too sparkly. This one's too expensive. Daddy, that's more than our car. We're not buying the expensive one. Good, because that's dumb. They settled on a simple platinum band with a small diamond, elegant without being ostentatious. The jeweler promised to have it ready in a week. Emma made Marcus swear to tell her when he was proposing so she could hide and watch. The plan came together slowly. Marcus wanted it to be meaningful, connected to their story. He settled on March 14th, exactly 1 year from the day he'd walked into the wrong hospital room. Lily's 6-month scan was scheduled for March 10th. Marcus took her to the appointment, now familiar with the routine, the nervous wait, Dr. Patel's careful evaluation, the scans that would determine whether their future had a foundation or a countdown. Lily emerged after an hour, and Marcus couldn't read her expression. His heart stopped. Clean. Still in remission. Dr. Patel says I'm doing beautifully. Relief made him dizzy. That's incredible. I know. I keep expecting it to change, but it hasn't. She took his hand. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. That evening, they told Emma together. She insisted on making a celebration poster with glitter and markers. Lily kicked cancer's butt. Marcus hung it in the kitchen with pride. March 14th fell on a Saturday. Marcus told Lily he wanted to take her back to the hospital, to walk through where they met, to mark the anniversary. She agreed without suspicion, and they left Emma with Mrs. Rodriguez with strict instructions to be ready by 2 p.m. St. Catherine Hospital felt different as a visitor rather than employee. Marcus led Lily through the main entrance, up to the 3rd floor, down the familiar hallway to room 314. It was unoccupied, the door open. Can we go in? Marcus nodded. They stood in the space where everything had started, no longer cold and institutional, but just a room. Lily walked to where her bed had been. I was so alone. I'd convinced myself I deserved it, that I'd pushed everyone away and this was the consequence. Then you showed up with those ridiculous flowers. They weren't ridiculous. They were perfect. They were grocery store sunflowers. Best flowers I ever bought. Lily turned to him, eyes wet. You saved my life. Not just by being there, but by showing me I was worth being there for. You saved mine, too. Marcus pulled the ring box from his pocket, and Lily's breath caught. I walked into the wrong room and found everything I didn't know I needed. You taught me that surviving isn't the same as living, that being scared is okay if you choose courage anyway, that I'm enough exactly as I am, not despite being a maintenance worker, but because being a good man matters more than being a rich one. Marcus, Lily Anderson, you're the strongest person I know. You fought cancer alone and won. You walked away from a job that was killing you to build a life that makes you happy. You love my daughter like she's yours. You made me believe in second chances. He opened the box, the diamond catching light from the window. Will you marry me? Lily laughed through tears. Yes. God, yes. Marcus slid the ring onto her finger, and they kissed in the room where they'd started, surrounded by ghosts of who they'd been and promises of who they were becoming. Emma was waiting at home with Mrs. Rodriguez, Dorothy Chen, Jake Morrison, and Frank Rodriguez. Marcus had recruited them for the next phase. When Marcus and Lily walked in with joined hands and visible rings, Emma screamed. She said yes. I told you I would. Lily knelt down to Emma's level. You know what this means? I'm officially going to be your mom. You already are, but this makes it more official. Exactly. The impromptu engagement party filled the house with easy laughter. Dorothy brought champagne and sparkling cider for Emma. Frank gave a toast about Marcus finally getting everything he deserved. Jake made inappropriate jokes that had Emma giggling behind her hand. Mrs. Rodriguez cried happy tears and promised to help with wedding planning. As the afternoon wore into evening, Emma pulled Lily aside. Marcus watched them whisper, Emma's expression serious. When they returned, Emma announced, We have news. Lily's hand touched her stomach, and Marcus's brain short-circuited. What? I'm pregnant. About 8 weeks. We found out yesterday. The room erupted. Marcus stood frozen, trying to process. A baby. Their baby. Emma was going to be a big sister. Emma tugged his hand. Daddy, aren't you excited? Yeah, baby. I'm excited. He pulled Lily into his arms. Are you okay? How are you feeling? Nauseous, terrified, happy, all of it. Me too. The party shifted into celebration of two announcements. Marcus floated through it, mind spinning. He'd barely adjusted to the idea of marriage, and now, fatherhood. Again. Emma would be 9 when the baby came. He'd be starting a new job. Lily was only a year out from cancer treatment. The timing was objectively terrible. But looking at Lily's hand on her still flat stomach, at Emma's excitement about being a big sister, at the family and friends filling their home with joy, the timing was also perfect. Later, after everyone left and Emma was asleep, Marcus and Lily sat on their back porch. The March air was cool, but not cold, hinting at spring. "Are you okay? Really okay?" Lily's fingers threaded through his. "I'm overwhelmed. But good overwhelmed. Dr. Patel says pregnancy shouldn't affect my remission. But there's always risk. There's always risk in everything. That's what you taught me. We just choose anyway." Lily leaned her head on his shoulder. "When should we get married?" "Soon. I don't want to wait." "How soon? What about June? Give us time to plan something small, but not so long that we're huge and uncomfortable." Marcus kissed her temple. "June works." They spent the next week in a blur of planning. Lily wanted small and meaningful, close friends and family, outdoor venue, nothing that required a wedding planner or a second mortgage. Emma appointed herself assistant coordinator, making lists and charts with the organizational skills of someone twice her age. Marcus's mother agreed to fly down from Seattle, the first time she'd visit since Sarah's funeral. The conversation was awkward, but warm, his mother crying when he told her about the baby. "I'm so happy for you, honey. You deserve this." "Thanks, Mom. I'm sorry I haven't been around more. After Sarah died, I didn't know how to help. And then so much time passed. It's okay. We're okay now." The job transition happened faster than expected. Frank's retirement moved up to late March due to health issues. Nothing serious, but enough to make him want to start his golden years early. Marcus stepped into the director role with a week of overlap, learning budget systems and personnel protocols while still handling technical emergencies. The team adjusted quickly. Most had worked with Marcus for years and respected his skill. The few skeptics were won over when Marcus spent his first official day as director helping troubleshoot a complex boiler issue, refusing to delegate something he could fix himself. By April, Marcus had implemented 3 efficiency improvements and proposed a mentorship program, pairing experienced technicians with new hires. The COO called him in to say the board was impressed with his first month. "We made the right choice with you." The words settled like a blessing. Marcus had spent so long believing he wasn't enough, not educated enough, not polished enough, not worthy enough. But he was exactly who the hospital needed. His hands-on experience and respect for his team mattered more than an MBA ever could. Emma turned 9 in late April with a party at the house. She invited her entire class, and the backyard filled with children running and screaming while adults supervised from a safe distance. Lily, now showing slightly at 14 weeks, orchestrated everything with calm efficiency. Marcus manned the grill and marveled at how normal this felt. Suburban dad life, complete with bad puns and spatula. Jake pulled him aside during cake time. "You look happy." "I am." "Good. You were dead inside for a long time after Sarah. It's good to see you alive again." "Lily did that." "Nah, man. You did that. She just reminded you how." May brought wedding planning intensity. Lily's college friend offered her family's property on Sauvie Island, a barn venue with gardens and mountain views. They booked it for June 7th, sent invitations to 70 people, and called it done. Emma insisted on being both flower girl and ring bearer. Marcus didn't have the heart to explain those were usually separate roles. Lily just ordered a basket big enough for both petals and rings. Memorial Day weekend, Marcus's mother arrived. She and Emma bonded immediately, his mother teaching her granddaughter card games while sharing stories about Marcus as a child. Lily watched with visible emotion, her own parents gone, her found family growing. That evening, Marcus's mother pulled him aside. "She's good for you." "Yeah, she is." "And you're good for her. I can see it." "Thanks, Mom. I'm proud of you. The promotion, the wedding, the baby. You built a good life from hard circumstances. That takes strength. Couldn't have done it alone. We never do." His mother hugged him. "I'm just glad you let people help this time." June arrived with perfect weather. The week before the wedding, Marcus moved through work in a haze of final preparations and mounting nerves. Not about marrying Lily, that was the easiest decision he'd ever made, but about standing in front of people, about being vulnerable in public, about the weight of promises made in front of witnesses. The night before the wedding, tradition dictated he shouldn't see Lily. She stayed at Dorothy's house with Emma and Marcus's mother, while Marcus and Jake crashed at the new house with beers and a Blazers game on television. "You nervous?" "Terrified. She's going to show up. You know that, right?" "Not worried about that. Just worried about crying in front of everyone." Jake laughed. "Brother, you're definitely crying in front of everyone. Embrace it." June 7th dawned clear and warm, temperature perfect for an outdoor ceremony. Marcus spent the morning with Frank and Jake, both of them helping him into a suit bought specifically for today. His hands shook tying the tie. At Sauvie Island, the barn had been transformed. White chairs faced an arch covered in sunflowers, Lily's choice, honoring where they'd started. Marcus stood under the arch with Frank officiating. The older man had gotten ordained online specifically for this. Guests arrived and filled the seats. Dorothy in the front row beside Mrs. Rodriguez. Richard Patterson from Anderson Medical, who'd become an unlikely friend after Marcus had saved the company's servers. Co-workers from the hospital. Jake's girlfriend. Lily's college friend who donated the venue. Marcus's mother holding Emma's hand. Music started, something instrumental and sweet. Emma walked down the aisle in a yellow dress, scattering petals and carrying the ring pillow with utmost seriousness. She took her place at the front, beaming. Then Lily appeared, and Marcus forgot how to breathe. She wore a simple white dress, not a wedding gown, but elegant enough to mark the occasion. At 19 weeks pregnant, she showed noticeably, and Marcus loved that their child was present for this. Dorothy walked beside her, Lily's choice for who would give her away. When Lily reached the arch, she handed her flowers to Emma and took Marcus's hands. Her eyes were wet, and his probably were too. Frank began. "We're gathered to witness Lily and Marcus choose each other. Their story started in unexpected places, a wrong turn that became the right path. They weathered illness and loss and fear, and they've chosen love anyway. That's what brings us here today." Marcus barely heard the words, too focused on Lily's face. This woman who'd been alone and dying a year ago, now alive and glowing, and about to become his wife. "Marcus, your vows." He'd written them down, but didn't need the paper. "Lily, a year ago I walked into room 314 looking for someone else and found you instead. You were alone and I was broken, and somehow we saved each other. You taught me that I'm enough, not despite being who I am, but because of it. That work done with honest hands matters." That love isn't about perfect timing or perfect people, but about showing up even when you're scared. His voice cracked. I promise to stand by you every day, through sickness and health, through good scans and scary ones, through sleepless nights with a newborn, and every challenge after. You, me, Emma, and this baby, we're a family. Forever. Lily's tears spilled over. Marcus, you saw me when I was invisible. You cared when I'd forgotten how to let anyone care. You gave me a reason to fight, a reason to survive, a reason to believe in futures I'd stopped imagining. I promise to love you fiercely, to be your partner, your wife, Emma's mother, our baby's mother. To choose you every single day, no matter what comes. The weight of her promises settled over Marcus like armor. They were doing this, building something permanent from temporary moments, trusting that love was enough even when nothing was guaranteed. Frank smiled. Rings? Emma stepped forward with the pillow, suddenly shy. Lily and Marcus each took a ring, slid them on simultaneously. By power vested in me by the internet and the state of Oregon, I pronounce you married. Kiss your wife already. Marcus pulled Lily close and kissed her while everyone cheered. Emma jumped up and down, and the baby kicked for the first time. Lily gasped against Marcus's lips, grabbed his hand and pressed it to her stomach. He felt the flutter of movement, their child announcing its presence at the exact right moment. When they broke apart, both crying now, Frank announced, I give you the Hayes family. The reception was barbecue and dancing under string lights. Emma requested the first dance with both of them, so they swayed in a three-way embrace while Jack Johnson played. Then Marcus danced with his mother, Lily with Emma, everyone mixing and celebrating. Dorothy's toast. I watched Marcus break 3 years ago. Watched him put himself back together, piece by piece, for his daughter. Then I watched Lily come into that hospital alone and terrified. I never imagined they'd find each other, but they did. And they're proof that even in darkest moments, love finds a way. Richard Patterson's toast. I judged Marcus when I first met him, saw his work clothes and assumed he wasn't worthy of Lily. I was wrong. Marcus showed me that leadership isn't about titles. It's about character, about showing up, about doing what needs to be done. Lily, you didn't marry down. You married the best man I know. Jake's toast. Marcus spent years believing he wasn't good enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not worthy. But he is enough. He always was. Lily saw it when the rest of the world didn't. That's the real gift here. Two people who see each other clearly and love what they see. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Marcus stood with Lily at the edge of the property, watching their family and friends celebrate on the lawn. Any regrets? Not one. Lily's hand rested on her stomach. This is everything I never knew I wanted. Me too. They rejoined the party, danced until their feet hurt, cut cake that Emma had helped decorate, and sent guests home with full hearts. Finally, just family remained. Emma, Marcus's mother Dorothy, Mrs. Rodriguez. The women cleaned while Marcus and Emma took down decorations. Best day ever, Daddy. Mine too, baby. Around midnight, Marcus and Lily drove to a hotel downtown, their one night away before reality resumed. Emma would stay with Marcus's mother, and they'd all reunite tomorrow for brunch. In the hotel room, Lily kicked off her shoes and collapsed on the bed. We did it. We did. We're married. Very married. Marcus lay beside her, both of them still in wedding clothes, too tired to change. I love you, Mrs. Hayes. I love you too. Lily rolled to face him. Do you ever think about that first day? When you walked into my room? All the time. What would you tell that version of yourself if you could? That the scared, broken guy leaving flowers for a stranger is about to get everything he stopped believing in. That grief doesn't last forever. That he's stronger than he knows. What would you tell me? That you're not alone. That you never will be again. That the worst day of your life led to the best ones. They fell asleep fully clothed, exhausted and happy, bound by promises spoken in front of witnesses and quieter ones made in the dark. Morning brought room service breakfast and lazy hours in bed. Lily's phone buzzed with congratulations messages, but they ignored it. This time was theirs. Around noon, they checked out and drove to brunch with Emma and Marcus's mother. Emma talked non-stop about the wedding, about how pretty Lily looked, about how she caught the bouquet even though Lily had thrown it directly to her. When are you having the baby? Emma asked through a mouthful of pancakes. Late October, about 4 more months. Emma considered this. Will it be a boy or a girl? We don't know yet. Do you have a preference? Either is good. I just want to be a good big sister. You're going to be the best. Lily's hand covered Emma's. I know because you've already practiced on me. Marcus watched them, his daughter and his wife, and felt something settle deep in his chest. This was his family now. Not replacement for what he'd lost, but something new and equally precious. The months after the wedding passed in a blur of work and pregnancy preparation. Marcus thrived as director, implementing programs that improved efficiency and staff morale. He started teaching evening classes at the community college where he'd gotten his start, passing knowledge to the next generation of technicians. Lily's pregnancy progressed normally. The morning sickness faded by week 20, replaced by energy and nesting instincts. She and Emma turned the smallest bedroom into a nursery, painting it soft green and filling it with furniture from sustainable wood. Marcus built a changing table in the garage, surprising himself with carpentry skills he'd forgotten he had. August brought the anatomy scan. They learned they were having a girl, and Emma cried with joy. A sister. She was getting a sister. Names became family debate. Emma suggested increasingly elaborate options. Seraphina, Anastasia, Persephone. Marcus preferred classic simplicity. Lily wanted meaning over popularity. They settled on Sophia Grace. Sophia for wisdom, Grace for the gift of second chances. September. Lily hit 35 weeks. She'd officially stepped back from all work, too uncomfortable to sit through board meetings. Instead, she volunteered at the hospital's Cancer Support Center, meeting with newly diagnosed patients who felt alone and terrified, giving back the presence that had saved her. Marcus came home from work one evening to find her crying on the couch. He dropped beside her, pulling her close. What's wrong? Nothing. Everything. I met a woman today. Stage 3 lymphoma, just like I was. No family. So scared. And I got to tell her my story. That I survived. That she can too. That being alone doesn't have to mean giving up. That's beautiful. It is. But it also reminded me how easily that could have been my ending. If you hadn't walked into that room, I might have just given up. But I did walk in, and you didn't give up. That's what matters. They sat holding each other while Sophia kicked aggressively, protesting the pressure on Lily's stomach. Even from the womb, their daughter had opinions. October arrived with falling leaves and cooling temperatures. Lily's due date was the 23rd, but Sophia had other plans. October 15th, 3 a.m., Lily woke Marcus with a hand on his shoulder. Contractions. They're 8 minutes apart. Emma stayed with Mrs. Rodriguez while Marcus and Lily drove through empty Portland streets to the hospital where they'd met. The labor and delivery ward was different from oncology, but Marcus still knew every hallway, every turn. His credentials got them through registration faster. 12 hours later, after labor that Lily handled with grit and determination that didn't surprise Marcus at all, Sophia Grace Hayes entered the world screaming. 6 pounds, 8 ounces of perfect, healthy baby. The nurse placed her on Lily's chest, and Marcus cut the cord with shaking hands. She's here. Our daughter is here. Lily touched Sophia's tiny face. She's perfect. They called Emma, who demanded to come immediately. Mrs. Rodriguez brought her within the hour. Emma approached the hospital bed with reverence, staring at her baby sister with awe. She's so small. You were this small once. Marcus lifted Emma so she could see better. Want to hold her? With supervision from the nurse, Emma sat in the chair cradling Sophia. The baby opened her eyes, dark blue, though they'd probably change, and seemed to study her big sister. Emma started crying. I promise to protect you forever. I promise to teach you everything I know. I promise to be the best big sister in the whole world. Marcus looked at Lily over their daughters' heads, and she was crying too. This family they'd built from broken pieces and unexpected choices, it was real and whole and more than he'd ever imagined possible. They stayed in the hospital 2 days. Marcus slept in the uncomfortable chair by Lily's bed, waking for every feeding and diaper change. Emma visited morning and evening, bringing drawings for Sophia's section of the wall. Bringing Sophia home was terrifying. The car seat seemed impossibly complex, the baby impossibly fragile, but they figured it out together. Marcus driving 5 miles under the speed limit, while Lily sat in back monitoring Sophia's breathing. The house welcomed them with a banner Emma had made. Welcome home, Sophia. Inside, Mrs. Rodriguez had stocked the fridge and Dorothy had left a lasagna. Frank sent flowers with a card. Congratulations on your perfect family. That first night, Marcus stood in the nursery at 2 a.m. with Sophia against his shoulder, trying to remember how to soothe a newborn. Lily appeared in the doorway, exhausted but smiling. You've got this. It's been 9 years. I've forgotten everything. You learned it once, you'll learn it again. She was right. By week 2, they'd found their rhythm, tag-teaming night feedings, napping when Sophia napped, accepting help from their village of people who'd shown up when it mattered. Emma was an incredible big sister, singing to Sophia and helping with diaper changes and reporting every tiny development. November brought Lily's 1-year scan. Marcus's mother flew down to help with the girls while they went to the appointment. The waiting room held different weight now. They had more to lose, more reason to need good news. Dr. Patel emerged smiling, clean, completely clear. Lily, you're officially a long-term survivor. We're moving you to annual scans. The relief was physical. Marcus had to sit down. Lily just nodded, tears streaming. That night, lying in bed with Sophia sleeping in her bassinet beside them, Lily whispered, We made it. We did. 1.5 years ago, I was dying alone. Now I have a husband 2 daughters, and a future that feels real. A year and a half ago, I was drowning in grief and convinced I'd never be happy again. Marcus pulled her closer. Funny how life works. They fell asleep tangled together, and when Sophia woke hungry at 4 a.m., Marcus changed her while Lily prepared to feed her. The routine was exhausting and perfect. December brought Sophia's first Christmas at 2 months old. Marcus's mother visited again, and they hosted a small celebration. Emma had made ornaments for everyone with their names and the year. Hanging them on the tree, Marcus stepped back to look at what they'd created. 4 ornaments where there had been 2. A family reconstituted and reimagined. Sarah would always be Emma's mother, would always be part of their story. But Lily was also Emma's mother now, and Sophia's, and they were all connected in ways that honored the past while building the future. New Year's Eve, they stayed home. Emma fell asleep on the couch at 9, and Sophia slept in Marcus's arms while he and Lily watched the ball drop on muted television. What are you hoping for this year? More of this. Lily gestured to their sleeping daughters, their messy living room, the life they'd built. Just more time to love you all. You've got it. Marcus kissed her softly. All the time we get. They didn't make it to midnight. Emma woke at 11:45, demanding to see the fireworks, and Sophia woke screaming for food. They welcomed the new year with chaos and laughter, exactly as they'd ended the old one. 18 months after walking into the wrong hospital room, Marcus stood in his backyard on a Saturday afternoon. Emma pushed Sophia in the baby swing he'd hung from the oak tree. Lily worked in the garden she'd started, planting vegetables they'd harvest in summer. His mother was visiting, reading on the porch. Dorothy and Mrs. Rodriguez would arrive soon for dinner. The life Marcus had now was nothing like the one he'd imagined at 38, but it was exactly what he needed. Not perfect. Sophia's sleep schedule was erratic, work had stressful days, the house needed repairs he kept putting off, but imperfectly, beautifully theirs. Lily joined him, dirt on her hands and peace on her face. What are you thinking about? How I walked into the wrong room and found everything I didn't know I was looking for. Best mistake you ever made. The only mistake was thinking I didn't deserve it, that I wasn't enough as I was. She leaned against him. You were always enough. Character isn't measured by wealth or education, but by how you treat people when no one's watching. You left flowers for a dying stranger. That's who you are. And you fought cancer alone because you thought being strong meant never needing help. We both learned better. They watched Emma and Sophia, their daughters laughing together in the golden afternoon light. Marcus thought about Sarah, about the grief that had nearly destroyed him, about the 3 years he'd spent just surviving. Then he thought about the wrong door, the wilting sunflowers, the woman who'd taught him that surviving and living weren't the same thing. Life wasn't about avoiding pain or loss. It was about finding people worth risking pain for, worth loving despite the uncertainty, worth choosing every day even when fear whispered reasons not to. Marcus Hayes had walked into room 314 expecting nothing and left with everything. A year and a half later, he stood in his backyard with his family and finally, completely, let himself be happy. Because some mistakes aren't mistakes at all. They're just destiny arriving in unexpected packaging, waiting for someone brave enough to open the door.